Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, Albert Breer said that the Las Vegas Raiders are a potential destination for current Browns defensive coordinator. That's right, Mr. Schwartz. Now, here's what's interesting about this, right? Because Schwartz, he's not happy with the Cleveland Browns because he thought that he was going to be able to be hired. Todd Monken ended up getting that job. There were some questions whether or not Jim Schwartz would end up returning to the Cleveland Browns. Then also there was some speculation about, hey, if Vic Fangio retires, it sounds like Vic Fangio is staying with the Philadelphia Eagles. So because Vic's staying in Philadelphia and because there's already being rumors, there's already reports out there wondering, could Jim Schwartz leave the Browns and be the next DC for the Silver and Black? Here's my question. I'm hitting you with one right off from the jump. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. If you come across this video, I want to know from you, would you want the Raiders to hire Jim Schwartz to be their defensive coordinator? Give me a yes, give me a no down below. I'm going to look at each and every one of y'all in the eyes right now, and I'm going to say this. Coming up today on the Raiders Report, I'm going to tell you why Jim Schwartz would be an outstanding hire for the Las Vegas Raiders if he's the next defensive coordinator. I got so many reasons out there, and if you agree with that statement, I want you to hit that like button right now. I had the utmost respect for Patrick Graham, but us hitting the upgrade button at DC is extremely important because Schwartz with Klint Kubiak, hell of a job, Spy Tech. Hell of a job, Tom Brady. Hell of a job, Mark Davis. Well, let's go to the first reason why I think that this would be a great hire for the Silver and Black. Look at the Browns in 2025, right? Some organizations stay bad for a reason. The Raiders know it just like anybody. But I also know that the Raiders have really struggled on defense, and I think one of the biggest reasons why they've struggled on defense is all these different coaches coming in and out, but also because that offense has been so bad. The Browns in 2025 ranked 4th in the NFL in total defense, 3rd in passing defense. Yeah, they were 14th with 22.3 points per game, but I also think Raider fans understand that stat because I've seen decent Raiders defenses look terrible because by the 3rd, 4th quarter, they're gassed. They're on the field the entire time. And that's happened so many times to that Browns offense because that Browns offense has been horrific year after year after year after year, which puts more stress on that Browns defense. So think about how bad that Browns O has been, and think about how great, like legitimately great, that Browns defense is. Jim Schwartz deserves a lot of credit for the way that that team played freaking defense. Let's go to another reason here. Myles Garrett. How many of y'all out there want Maxx Crosby to be a Raider for life? Raise your hand if that's you. Myles Garrett loves Jim Schwartz. And if I'm the Raiders and I want to make sure that I'm keeping Maxx a Raider for life, I'm going, hey, man, I'm going to be able to bring in Schwartz, who, by the way, Crosby is a huge fan of. So we talked about how bad the Browns were this past season. Well, Myles Garrett just set the NFL sack record, 23 sacks this past season. He's been a dog. He's one of the greatest of all time, and I think you could actually make an argument. Like, I know we talk about MVP Drake May, MVP Matthew Stafford. You don't know who I actually think is the best player in the NFL? It's Myles Garrett. And when the news came out that the Cleveland Browns were hiring Todd Monken and that Schwartz could potentially leave, Myles Garrett posted this on his social media. I don't know if you've ever seen the meme. It's not a meme that's very positive. This is not a, I'm not happy about Monken. This is, I just had the best year that I've ever had in my entire career. You guys paid me all this money, and now you're telling me we're going to lose that guy on defense who I would make the argument was by far their best coach, probably their strongest point. And if Myles is happy with it, I'm already telling you this, Maxx Crosby loves Jim Schwartz. We actually had a super chat earlier today on the Raiders Report saying, like, hey, I think by getting Schwartz, that would make Maxx happy. It would be phenomenal news for 98. And it's phenomenal news then for Raider Nation because, you know, you look at Maxx and you think about some of the numbers that he was able to put up, and he's about to be 29 years old, coming off another year where, you know, he's coming off an injury. But 73 tackles, 28 tackles for loss, 20 quarterback hits, 10 sacks. Like, I know Maxx hasn't always lived up to the numbers in terms of sacks, but what he does in the run game, what he does all these other snaps, it is truly unbelievable. But I really do think that you're going to keep on getting the trade rumors around 98, whether we like to hear them or not. And the fact that I'm not talking about him should tell you everything you need to know. I don't think Maxx is going to go anywhere. But Jim Schwartz coming to the silver and black will make 98 very, very happy. Here's my other promise on this show. If the Raiders end up hiring Schwartz to be their DC, you bet your ass I'm going to be going live. Because you're telling me Klint Kubiak, Jim Schwartz. Lock it in. It's going to be a party. My number one candidate that I wanted for the Raiders was Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris obviously took the job with the 49ers at DC. But I wanted Raheem Morris because he had head coaching experience. Because he had great DC qualifications. Jim Schwartz is basically that exact same damn coach. And when you pair that with somebody like Klint Kubiak, beautiful, beautiful thing. You can't argue that he's a great defensive mind. And finding a great defensive mind, a head coach that's been in the league with multiple different regimes, you find what you like, you find what you don't like, you find what works. And what makes Schwartz just unbelievably good is, again, very, very good defensive mind, but also players, they love to play for him. And guys will always have his back. Like, there's two quotes from Denzel Ward, and there's another quote in there from Myles Garrett about him and how great of a defensive mind coach he is and how much players do love to rock with him, because that's another important part of this conversation, right? Like, it's not always when you bring in all these different faces, when you bring in all of these different coaches, I do think it's important to be able to find guys that hey, we got to build an entire defense. You know what I mean? Like, we have so many holes on that defensive side of the football. I want to know that the guy that we bring in is a great defensive-minded coach and also has phenomenal relationships with his players. I'm going to show you the quotes around Denzel Ward and around Myles Garrett. One of the better corners in the league, one of the better defensive ends in the league. But before I do that, I bet you Jim Schwartz would also love PrizePicks. Shout out to America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. It's PrizePicks. Easy, exciting, daily fantasy sports made easy. Shout out to them for sponsoring today's show. The big game, it's almost here. And there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season outright with PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Do you miss fantasy football? If you answered yes to that question, well, with PrizePicks, you can play fantasy football each week. Get in on the action. It's available in all 50 states. It's also simple to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. The best deal that they got for the big game, Drake May, 0.5 passing yards. If you're planning on getting a lineup in, well, then you better get in a lineup that features Drake May, because when PrizePicks gives you a deal like that, you got to take advantage of that type of deal. That's like me doing bangs for $1. So download the PrizePicks app today. Make sure that you use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. And again, if anybody wants to follow me on PrizePicks, I'm at MitchellRens365. I will get you a lineup sooner in the week, a little bit later on, the closer and closer we get to the big game. So here's what Denzel Ward, one of the best corners in the NFL, had to say on Jim Schwartz. So much love and respect for Coach Schwartz. Me, I would highly recommend Coach Schwartz for a head coaching job here, definitely. So, that's right around the timing before they went out and got Todd Monken. Also, Myles Garrett. I mean, I like Jim. I like the coaches that we have. So I don't know what's going to be in the future. Would I like to play under Jim? Would I like to keep the team for us to improve? Absolutely. Again, you're talking about the cornerstone of your piece, right? Like, imagine if Maxx Crosby said, I would like to be able to keep Patrick Graham. There'd be a lot of Raiders fans here going, I think we should keep Patrick Graham. I wouldn't blame a lot of those Raiders fans for thinking it. But what if you could hit the upgrade button on Patrick Graham, bring in somebody that has been really good with multiple teams as a head coach, and then on top of that, Maxx Crosby also likes. That's kind of who Jim Schwartz is. Let's go to the next reason why Schwartz would be great in Las Vegas. Klint Kubiak, you handle the offense. You're going to be the one that handles all the X's and O's. You handle what you're supposed to do. Kubiak's head coach, offensive play caller. You could probably bring in somebody over there from Seattle, and you bring in a lot of those people from that Seattle staff that have made Kubiak who he is. He handles the offense. That's what good teams do. You bring in the head coach, he handles the offense. So then what do you have to be able to find? The proper pairing. And I'm telling you, a great, great pairing with an offensive-minded head coach, who, by the way, is going to be a head coach for the very, very first time. I always say this on this show because it's just been proven true year after year. Pete Carroll had a brilliant resume, but Pete Carroll was not the right head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders, right? My wife is an amazing woman. She's probably not perfect for everybody out there. She's perfect for me. I really do believe by hiring a guy like Klint Kubiak, if you're able to bring in a experienced defensive coordinator with head coach experience, that's the perfect fit for the Las Vegas Raiders. And that's exactly what Jim Schwartz is. He is an experienced defensive coordinator that has succeeded at so many different spots on his journey. He's got head coaching experience. And when you put a guy like Schwartz with a dude like Klint Kubiak, who are just both football guys, it's how great teams get off the ground and get going. Here's Jim Schwartz with the Tennessee Titans. With the Titans from 2001 to 2008, his units frequently ranked among the league's elite in total defense, rushing defense, and takeaways. What about Schwartz with the Eagles? With the Eagles from 2016 to 2020, he transformed a bottom-tier defense, 30th in yards allowed in 2015, into a top performer, notable rankings including number 1 in rush defense in 2017, top 10 in total yards multiple years, top rankings in red zone, third down, and scoring defense. Then, you look at Schwartz the past few years with the Cleveland Browns. With the Browns, led the NFL's stingiest defense in total yards allowed over his first 3 seasons, averaging under 300 yards per game, the league's best. Produced high sack totals, 49 in 2023, 53 in 2025, and helped Myles Garrett set the NFL single sack record, 23 in 2025. My point is this. Some people could say it's going to be a fluke, but to me, if you're the Raiders and you're able to not only hire Klint Kubiak, you're also able to bring in Jim Schwartz to be your defensive coordinator, that's going to be a great pairing, and it's going to be another reason why I sit up here and I'll say 2026 just feels like the year for the Las Vegas Raiders.